The Monday, September 11th, the Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting. If we could stand and pay respect to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We need a motion for the agenda. I'm sorry, noting of roll.
President Rosner Myers
Here.
here. Mr. Walters is absent. Mr. Butler
Here.
Ms. Payne.
Here.
Mr. Baker is here.
Thank you. And with that, we need a motion for the agenda.
One change that I think maybe read our minutes should be over time. It states a special meeting. Is that incorrect? Correct on minutes. The top says, Chair Township Elections on Board of Appeals, special meeting, and on the agenda to the regular.
Let me look at April.
I thought that was a regular.
I think that was a regular meeting.
Yeah.
If it was, we'll address that in the text. Look at the minutes. I think it was a regular.
Yeah, it was. It's only in the top thing that says special accidentally.
Okay. Move to approve the agenda as noted, as presented.
To a second?
Second.
Second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now with the approval of minutes, I do know that these, I think, are the preliminary, so they should say draft, but we're just assuming these are the draft, so I don't think it's going to get on there. With that, I know that we have one change to remove the special meeting and change that to regular meeting. I saw that special too, and I wondered about that one. Were there any other changes? If not, we need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we open the floor to any public comments on items that are not on today's agenda. Would any member of the public, including the petitioner, like to speak about any items not on the agenda today? Okay, having no one from the public wishing to speak, we're going to move on then to regular business. This is ZBA 005.17. It's a request for a variance from outdoor storage fence. Get the right one here. ZBA 007.17. This is signage at 925 North Lapeer Road, also known as the Legacy Center, parcel 0422-101-003. The applicant owner, Christian Mills, appears to be present. The petitioner would like to come up and present your variance request.
And gentlemen, 1 second. Do you want to go through the procedure that we're going to go through prior to making this presentation?
Sure, like the 10 minutes and that. Do you have everything on the backside of mine? Thank you. Okay, the procedure is applicant will give the statement, then we're going to open the floor to the public for any members of the public wishing to speak. The applicant's statement is generally limited to 10 minutes, and the public is 3 minutes. After everyone's asked their questions, we can open it up if people need additional time. At that point, we close the public hearing. We go on to our board member and building administrator comments, do our findings of fact, and have our motion. With that, I see our petitioner is here. If you'd like to come up and second case.
All right, good evening. Christian Mills, 925 Lapeer Road. I want to thank everyone for their time and attention tonight. So this is the second time we've been here, so really just focusing on maybe the changes that we're asking for versus, the purpose of the variance, etc. So, when we first proposed the signage, some of it, we're not sure where businesses are located in the building, so there's been lots of changes since the last time I was here. So I have 2 sheets of paper, and I'm trying to do this in a pretty organized format. One is the summary, which gives you the square footage and If you look at the summary here, the light blue is, these are murals that were approved and not changed. The blue are murals that were approved that we're requesting change to signage. Then we have a new proposed sign and a new proposed mural and a change in copyright. So those are the areas that we're looking for. Here, what I've done just for ease of use is I've color-coded everything. So I figured we'd just start with A and go through it, and it correlates with the spreadsheet. And then we also summarize like the total square footage and the difference, what we're asking for. So you all have this handout. We just, okay. Starting on the east side, it's mural A. There's no change. Actually, the second, which is mural or sign AY, it was on the original plan, but we had never had it marked. So we're asking for that to be confirmed as a sign. And we put it here as a new proposed sign.
Go ahead.
That's okay.
I can scroll my agenda. There you go.
You can have it.
So that was highlighted in our original plan, but again, I didn't have any documentation on it, so I just posed it as a new sign for the tenant moving into that south space. Going along here, sign B all the way through mural H, everything in green, nothing is changing. So then it's mural I, which is the swimmer here. We'd like to change that to a sign. So currently it's a mural at 260 square feet. The proposed change would to make a sign for 200 square feet. So there's no change to the net square footage, but we really need some publicity for Splash. So instead of just having a random swimmer there, I'd like to have the Splash logo so people know that there's a swim school in the building.
200 or 260? You said 200.
I'm sorry, 260.
Thank you.
Next to it, it's really important. We have a number of businesses within the building that don't have representation. We get asked a lot for, wayfinding and signage. So we've put some color coding in the hallways. We put some signs within the hallway to kind of walk people through. But there are a number of businesses that are in the interior that don't have appropriate representation on the outside. So we need people who are driving by and people who are coming to the building to see who else is in there. So this also is a mural, and we're asking to change it to a sign. And there's, so this is J, and we're not changing any of the square footage. So it's a 330 square foot mural. We want to change, 338 square foot mural. We want to change it to 338 square feet sign. Mural K, it's currently a mural at 238 feet. We want to change it to a sign for 238 feet. And again, that's on the other side of the door. We're putting millions of dollars into a go-kart track, a bowling alley, event center, and we really need to have signage on the front of the building so people know what's inside. So we have one on one side for the tenants and one for, the new major business going in. Sign L is existing, mural M is existing, mural N is existing. So now I'm going to, God, I need my glasses. Mural O. So anything in blue, as you go through it, we're not changing, we're just changing it from a mural into a sign. So again, there's an event center, so we need to market in the event center, what we can do in the event center. Going through, so that would be So it's 230 square feet of mural. We want to change it to 230 feet of sign. Signs P, Q, R, and S, there are no change. Sign T. Sign T is approved for 40 square feet. We're asking it to be enlarged to 210 square feet, so it's a 170 square foot change. Again, we're moving the sign for the den, so the den is moving to the north side of the building. So it's about the same size as what the den logo is now. And then there are no changes on U, V, W, X, Y, like all the way down until you see the orange, which is AK. Are you guys following me? Okay. Okay. One of the restrictions that we had, that's the Urban Air trampoline park sign. We had the right to change copy on all the other signs with the exception of the Urban Air sign. And our franchise has changed their logo. So to meet the franchise requirements, we need to change the new logo on the side of the building. It's still Urban Air, we're not changing businesses, but I have a requirement from the franchise to be able to use their new logo. The Legacy Center, let's see, there's, the next change is in blue, so it's mural AM. Currently, it's an approved mural for 140 square feet. We want to change that to a sign. Again, the tenant that's in that south space has to have some representation on that side of the building as well. People are coming into that main entrance, they need to know there's a business there. Okay. Let's skip to mural AZ. So mural AZ, it's in yellow. This is on the west elevation. We're going to have 4 images because it represents the 4 new services in the building. We have the go-kart track, the event center, there's bowling, and then there's the restaurant. So we'd like to have 4 images that represent those. So we're asking for an additional mural for 216 square feet. All right. Now I'm going to AAA. AAA is a new sign. We're putting a new door into the west side of the building, so that will be an entrance for the go-kart, or an entrance into the bowling alley in that back area there. So again, we'd like to have a sign, representing which the business is right next to the door. Okay, there are no changes, no other changes on the west side. So now we have the north elevation. That's AP, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in purple it's, no, that's AAA. Right here, that's AP, okay. Okay, so AP, it's a mural for 295 square feet. We want to propose a change to a sign for 385 square feet. Again, it's all the traffic coming from the north side. They can see, what's in there. That's connected to the event center and the bowling, go-karts, etc. Mural AQ, which is 255 square feet. We want to change that to a sign, which is 255 square feet. And again, it's next to the existing door, kind of on the west side of the building. And so it's a monument sign sharing with people all the businesses that are in the Legacy Center. And the last is mural AR. We want to change that to a sign, so it's 340 square feet. We want to change it to 340 square foot sign versus a mural. So that accurately represents the 24-hour CrossFit and that business there as well. So what we've done is we've added the square footage, and most of the square footage is just changing a current mural and being able to put some letters into it to create a sign. So we're not increasing the total square footage, but there is a net increase of 477 square feet when you net out the difference between what we're looking for from the signage and the murals. So total approved area was 10,248. Total proposed signage area is 4,635. Total proposed mural area is 6,090. Total proposed area is 10,725.
Can you go through this proposed signage and mural calculation unit?
Well, see, if you kind of look down on the right side here where it says change in area mural, if there wasn't a change in total square footage, it was just a change of use, if you will. So we netted that out. So if it used to be a mural for 260 and then now it's a sign for 260, we're not taking any more square footage. We're just adding signage to it.
I'm sorry, you finished?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to, I just thought you were giving the totals that were in these two columns, and I was going to write them down, so I didn't, otherwise I wouldn't have interrupted you.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Okay. Okay, so you're finished with your presentation. Okay, and at this point, we're going to open the floor to the public.
Thank you very much.
Any members of the public that would like to speak? Please just identify yourself and your address.
Good evening, Mary Ann Keynes. I reside at 149 Stony Lake Drive, which is the Stony Lake Village condos. I just wanted to come this evening to try and hear what was going to be presented about the variance and the signage, because I've noticed that the walls are getting kind of a little bit busy and crowded. There isn't much empty space left. But also just looking at what was planned for the western side of the building, because that is the side that shares the shoreline with our those residents on the it would be on the south side of Stony Lake Drive, looking out our backyards. We see what's the Legacy Center has along the west side of the building. So the addition of a new door, entrance and exit doors to that side of the building for the bowling alley and the go-karts is something new. We didn't see that on the proposed plan in the previous meetings. So that's something new to consider, that the traffic flow will now, a lot will go into the western side behind the building and in and out of the building, and the additional monument sign and the signage for those businesses now, like the bowling alley, the event center, the go-karts, those are all going to be featured now per Mr. Mills' explanation on the west side of the building. So that would just be one of the concerns that we have from Stony Lake side of the house, is just looking at the additional traffic flow in the rear of the building, as well as the signage that now is a little bit cleaner looking. There isn't much there now, and they painted it the blue and the brown coloring, but now we're looking at signs and murals per the discussion this evening. So that's just something that kind of takes away from the nice shoreline look, the natural look. But I can understand that some businesses are represented on the exterior walls and some are not. And if I was not a business represented, I'd have difficulty too. But given the amount of square footage of signage that's allowed, and at the last time that it was brought up to the Planning Commission, and what was approved seems sufficient. So now we've got an additional amount, and it's just getting a little bit crowded. Thank you for the time.
statements, and I guess in this case also our planner's report. In our packet, we had planner's report. I don't think I had any other comments from any of the township staff, so we do have a planner's report here. And I'm assuming you were provided a copy of
We just
the Carlisle Wortman report.
We just see that back the other now.
As dated September 7th. And it basically summarizes what it is we did at the last meeting, which was on September 12th. And I'm just looking quickly, because we got your table tonight. I'm just doing a quick rundown here of the comparisons. There was a discussion from the planner about the correct elevation analysis. Do you have any input or further information on that? Okay, you just got that?
We just got the review tonight.
You haven't received it? Okay, why don't we just take a minute and then go ahead and read through that and just let us know when you're done. base on that, because basically, from what I'm understanding, is that he's saying that your, either the calculations or the way it's formatted from your envelope is incorrect, and so he did that supplement, which I guess is based on your elevations into the table. So did you check that, or you?
We did. This new spreadsheet with all the color coding, we went through it like ad nauseum with our architect today. So this is accurate. And I'm not sure, you know, I did see like one change, you know, in the old plan where it said like 120 square feet, but it was really, yeah.
He's saying that the
Yeah.
elevation analysis table shown on each sheet of the site plan contain incorrect information regarding total sign areas. So I guess he's saying that these elevation areas, when calculated,
That was on the
don't add up.
plan that we had submitted originally that he reviewed, but this plan that we gave you tonight has been recalculated.
So this is new information.
Some of the information on the plans were incorrect.
Right, so,
It's not new information, it's just,
Some of it was incorrect.
it's something, yeah, there was, I can give you an example, but it was just like very small. So we went off the approved plans that were in writing, and so we took, you know, the existing square footage, and we put, if you look at the approved side, those are the exact numbers and letters that were approved, you know, based on the previous meeting. So, and then we moved, if we were gonna do a sign, to keep it simple in most instances, almost all with the exception of one where we asked for an increase in square footage, we kept the square footage the same. So you can see those notes in the right-hand column. So there's only actually two new proposed signs, which was 80 square feet and 216 square feet. And then there is, we asked for an increase in one sign at 170 square feet. So that's the only square footage and additional signage. The rest was a conversion or a trade-off between an existing approved mural, you know, moving it from a mural to a sign.
okay, I was unaware that some of the information had changed, that's why I'm looking at it with new eyes. I'm just comparing what the planner submitted to the table.
Could you bring your mic up a little closer, please?
Pardon?
Bring your mic up a little closer when you speak.
Yeah, I'm comparing the,
Thank you.
give us a minute then to look, because I thought everything was identical. I went through the east elevation and everything, see where the differences are. Okay, so on the east elevation, we have changes to AY, I, K, L, okay, so if we just look at the east elevation, is that right? From what the planner said, where the changes are in the sign? I'm just identifying between the old and the new on the planner's report, on the ones that have changed. And so there's an additional 80 square feet with AY. Sign I went from 260 down to 120. Sign K went, and let me know if any of this is wrong as I'm going through it, because I'm looking at the planners. K went from 238 down to 200. On the east elevation, is that correct so far?
No, we kept them the same.
Yeah.
If you look at my spreadsheet here,
Yeah, I'm just first going to identify from the planner what the changes are, and then that makes it easier
Okay.
to cross-reference. So the changes on the east elevation are signed AY, I, K, and L, and T.
No, the changes are I, J, and K.
AY was,
AY was, yes, AY was a new sign, yes,
right, AY wasn't there before,
correct.
and now it's proposed for 80, so that's a change from the previous.
That's correct.
So that's right, we have the change of that. And then I, J, K, L, and then also T.
Well, in our review, we're just going to keep L the same as a sign. So there's no change.
Okay. L is going from 200 to 200. It's not changing?
Yeah, there's no change.
AY, 80. Okay, so I here is, you're changing the mural to a sign,
Correct.
but you're saying it's minus 260. It's,
Well, when I say minus 260, it's so the square footage of the sign, the square footage of the current mural is 260, and if we change it to a sign, we're adding 260 to the signage and taking 260 off the mural. So when I get my
so the new
total,
square feet is actually 260.
well, it's a net change. It's,
The sign would be 260.
that's correct.
Okay, so the planner has it at 120, so that's incorrect. Does everyone follow me on mine? On the planners?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask the board here. I believe that we had not considered mural signs in our last,
Yes.
yes.
That was the
Those that were
discussion.
here, and I reviewed the minutes, and I was very clear in my understanding that we did not consider the murals signs. We went through and we determined anything that was not identifiable and not a logo was a mural. Mural was artwork that we were allowing. We did that separate. And then signage was signage. So I guess it's on our approach to this. My approach is that we'll look at signs as signs. Whether it was a mural before or not really was insignificant. For me, if it's replacing a mural with a sign, it's a sign. It does, my logic is absence or addition of the murals is secondary compared to the sign, and I'm looking at the sign component first. Like, less murals does not balance into my equation for the signs, because we're really, it's the sign ordinance, because we determined the murals weren't a sign.
We totaled the signs.
I'm just gonna run this through the board, because I'm just trying to, we gotta figure out our math somehow, and when I'm hearing it's a mural replaced with a sign, really, I'm looking at it as just adding up the sign square foot, and then the mural square foot would be secondary. So basically, in my mind, what I want to see is how many square foot of sign we had before and how many square foot of sign we have now. That's the first number. And then the second one is mural. How many square foot mural we had before and how many we have now.
Yeah. you
It seems
do-
like we're kind of mixing and matching. To me, the simplest way would be pure signage, pure murals. And just go through the chart and identify each one. First, just start on signs and then do murals. And I'm open to anything the body wants.
So what you're saying is just because they're taking a 260 square foot mural off and replacing it with a sign, it's an even wash, but that's not the case.
Right.
We're adding 260 square
Right.
feet of sign that we hadn't approved.
Right, I'd like to just go
Okay.
through and
Yeah,
identify.
we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think that's the way this needs to be looked at. The way the murals and the signage had worked previously.
Right.
It was
Separate.
kind of critical to our decision.
Right, and from my notes vary a little bit from what the planner said, and what the minutes said. We said that there was 19 tenants, 21 signs, 24 doors. And so we took the number of tenants times 150 to get the 2850. And that's what we came up with, that 950 square foot variance. So our sign calculation was based on the amount of tenants
Yeah.
times 150.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So with that, if the board is in agreement, I just want to go through, we'll start with the planners and just identify
The number of increase, percent of
Yeah,
square footage.
increase of signs, just start
And
with
it is
signs.
somewhat total if you look at the bottom.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah,
it
but we
all
just
up.
identified that I wasn't,
Well,
it wasn't 120, it's actually 260. So what should be in that planner's column is 260,
Yeah.
not 120. So we'll just check each one here, because M did not change. K. Let's see, I changed K from mirrors before. Okay, so 120, actually it should be 260 for I, 338 for K, or J, sorry. K is 200. And L was assigned before at 200. And now it goes to 238, okay. So L is the sign you said, but now it's not 238, it's 200?
It's always, yeah.
Okay, so L is 200.
And it's staying 200?
The sign will be 200. The proposed sign for L is 200?
Correct.
Okay. And then T, the sign then, would be, it shows 170, okay, 210. And it is 210 for L? I'm sorry, T?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that's 210, that's correct.
Well, there was already 40 there, but,
The 40,
so it's just an additional one.
okay, T is the sign?
T is approved sign.
Well, actually, whether there's 40 or not, we already knew your previous total and sign. I want your new total. The difference is really what the math is.
The new total is 2357.
So I just want, any sign that's changed, what it is. Because when we subtract it, that number's gonna come
I
up.
understand what you're looking for. If you follow me for 1 second, the change in signage, I didn't net out, the murals. So the additional change in signage, you have 2357. So if you look at the bottom of the
Well,
total,
let me just we'll go through with you to make sure
Okay.
these are all right. That's
Sure.
why we're doing it.
okay,
So AY, that's like I said, on elevation E, AY, you have a sign now that's going to be 80 square feet.
correct.
Okay. I was 260, there's going to be 260.
Correct.
J is 338,
Correct.
K is 200,
238.
238, thank you, that's why I'm doing this. K is 238, and L is 200.
L is the same, we're not changing it.
It was 200 and it's staying 200.
Yeah,
L is not being changed?
okay.
Okay, so we can just take L off for mathematical purposes then. T is going to be 210 square feet on the east elevation?
Correct.
Okay. Now we'll move down to the south elevation. Okay, so there's no changes on the south elevation.
No, it doesn't appear to be changed.
The only change on the south elevation is we're asking for a change of copyright.
That changed what?
Copyright for the urban air sign. You would put a restriction in there that if the urban air sign was changed, that it would have to go down to the original size.
Right.
Our franchise changed their logo. So they want us to change our logo. It's a similar logo, but it's a change. So we want to have the ability to change the copyright for that. It's AK.
Which sign is that one on the south elevation?
Urban Air Trampoline Park.
The 500 AK.
It's a current sign,
It's 8K.
correct?
Okay. So previous was 500, the new is 500.
There's no change yet.
Did you provide the current or the new proposed?
The new logo?
Yeah.
No. we can pull it up, but
And what's different about it?
Just the letters UA.
I'm sorry?
The letters UA.
they want to,
An oval, it just says UA on it.
So the
Kid friendly.
firework is basically the same.
Exactly. Do you want me to bring it up? Do you want me to show you?
It's just, would an average person
It's not-
think it's substantially different?
no,
That's all I'm trying to
but
do.
it's their requirement to be able to change it.
I'm just going through on this East elevation, which one of the murals before it was IJK murals? And why the murals okay. Mural O on the East elevation, that's now becoming a sign?
Mural O,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, okay, so mural O, becoming a sign. Why it's not a sign? Okay, so G, the mural is becoming a sign. Well, I feel like I've got apples and oranges mixed all over the place, because now I'm looking at the planners, he's got the murals and the signs all put together.
I mean, the only changes that we're requesting are right here.
I'm even having a problem following this one. None of the existing signs are changing except for the artwork change in the new logo for AK, right?
Correct.
You want to see it? None of those are, yeah, if you want to.
Everything in like light blue on here is, there's no change. So the only changes are purple, orange, yellow.
And now it's going to have a big UA. We'll have to show it to everybody and then also show it to the camera, both of those. If you don't mind, I'm just going to take a picture
So
for the record.
Your part's going on, you're just gonna do it?
Yeah.
So it's getting simplified.
I'm going to take a picture of both for the record because that way I can include it. And so that is, okay. I know old and the old packet, but
Maybe we can put a language in there that just says, you know, corporate requirements or,
It's the old logo and
Okay, can you hold it up in front of the lens? That's all right.
it's the
You gotta back up a little bit.
okay, so none of the existing
Here.
signs are changing.
This is the new one?
Except
Yep,
for
that's the new one.
the change in the logo.
Give it a second to adjust. There it goes. Okay, now give me the other one.
Murals,
This is
change
the
those
old
in the
logo.
signs.
Sorry.
That's all right.
yes.
Okay, so the murals you want to change into signs.
It's the old logo.
Because then we know what addition that would be then.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
AY then is at 80. And I is 260. J is 338. K is 238. O is 230.
existing sign.
Right?
That's an existing sign.
And T is a sign, and the change then is 170.
Correct.
Okay, now I feel like I got something I can work with here. Okay, so on the east elevation, you're asking for an increase of signage of 80, 260, 338, 238, 230, and 170.
Correct.
Okay. Now we can work with that south elevation. On the south elevation, any murals that will be changed or any additional signage? Where's my-
Yeah, there's one.
Showing the east south.
So,
Just AK changing copy, right?
yeah,
Changing copy and then,
Great, other than the AK.
no, the other one is in blue, it's AM. So AM is a woman jumping. And we want to change that a sign for our tenant. That's a space right
On the
there.
mural?
The one, yes. So it's AM listed on your chart here. So it's currently a mural for 140 square feet.
So AM is, you want a 140 square foot sign.
Correct.
Okay. So on the south elevation, you're proposing a change in the Nuke logo, because that had a special provision, and an additional 140 square foot sign at the location of AM.
Correct.
And then on the west elevation, we're starting with AOAT.
Except you mentioned a monument sign and then the signage for the bowling alley.
If you're going to speak, you need to go to the microphone.
for murals, just
That's not the west side.
AS/AV on the west elevation.
Because I think you just have this splash on there.
Is one from a mural to a sign. So choose 216 square feet.
So on the west elevation, it's ASAV. Is that two different signs, two different locations?
AZ.
Okay. West elevation.
AZ is a proposed for a new mural, so it's not going to be in the existing.
Where's AS?
It's the, on the last page, the woman picking up dumbbells, holding dumbbells.
On the west elevation?
Yeah, the very last,
The dumbbells should be on the north elevation.
north elevation.
Okay, this is,
From the west.
we're on the west, yeah.
Isn't this is AS?
That's the one.
So the two changes on
Small
the,
print where the elevations are right there. I had to circle mine.
So is that meant to be AV?
I see an AD, which is at the upper
Yeah, I
right
think
hand
it's meant
corner.
to be AV.
That's the bowling pin. And what is AS? That's what do you know what AS?
Well, AS goes up on the north elevation. So I think it's just AV is what that was supposed to be.
That's what I want to make sure we're correct. Is there a change in AS at all?
no.
There's
No,
no?
so
Okay.
that's on the north elevation.
Okay, so on the planner's report, I'm going to cross out the AS. So we just have AV. Okay, so AV is an additional 216 feet.
AZ.
AS/AV.
We're just asking for, it's a brand new, so it's not a change. We marked it as AZ, which is circled in yellow.
Yeah, AZ is a new mural,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And then AS was a mural.
Still
Now
is.
it's on the sign.
AS,
Yes.
so there's no change for AS.
I'm sorry, AV.
Yeah, AV, no, I know.
Sorry,
AV.
numbers next time, numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Numbers,
I know,
numbers be
so-
great. Dumpster still wire numbers.
So AV was the bowling pins, and that's proposed to be a sign?
No.
It's going to be a new mural? That's,
No.
So AM, do you see AM?
On the plans that we gave you tonight.
right, I've got the short set plan.
AM is purple.
Yep, I see, purple where?
Okay, so the yellow, you've got the green and the yellow. So the green are existing, and the yellow is one new, which we labeled AZ. So it's one new mural for 216 square feet.
Okay, so not addressing murals at this point, we're just doing signage on that west elevation.
Okay,
What has changed regarding signage?
AM. So AM is currently a mural for 140 square feet. We want to change it to a sign.
And that's the 925 bar and grill.
Correct.
Now that it's listed as sign AAA here.
Yeah, AAA.
Okay, we can use AAA.
Okay, so on the west elevation, what was there before? There was-
Yeah, 'cause I can't read that. That says AAA, yes, he's right.
What was that mural designated before?
Well, AAA is a new proposed sign. So
I get
there's-
that.
Okay,
So it
so,
was a mural previously.
no.
No, it's a brand new sign.
There was
A-
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why none of these are dumb questions, we're just trying to.
no, it's okay. All the pink are new signs. There's two new, brand new signs.
Okay, but I see this scalloped area around that, and so sign AAA I get, it says 925 Bar and Grill. So we've got that
So that's a new sign proposed at 216.
AAA, and so that AAA size is 216, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's not AV, that's AAA, is 216. And what's to the left of that, the bowling pins, was that there before? That's picking up the same thing as upper, right?
That's
Got it,
correct.
Okay.
You can cross that out.
There's the hedge mark, okay.
I know it's confusing because they
The ones in
transfer.
green are murals that are just changing murals to
The ones,
mural. They're
the
not-
ones in green are never
Right,
changed.
they're just, yeah, right, because murals, you didn't need approval to change the artwork inside. Okay, so the only change on the west elevation is the addition of that 925.
Which is 216 square feet.
216, right? Yep. And you got it.
So again, the new proposed mural.
Now we're looking
Jesus.
at the north elevation. And there's an addition then, and let's see, this one is our AP, is on here. 385,
Correct?
and that was a mural before.
Correct.
And blue would change to murals, but no, the size is not changing. So we've identified the increase, the requested increase of signage. And just give me a moment, I'll add this if someone else wants to add to check my math at the same time.
One question I gotta do now. Looking at the north elevation,
Yes.
where the match line is the bottom on the bottom.
Yep.
Went out there this afternoon, something doesn't seem right. Where that sign is, the marquee, quote unquote, multi-tenant sign, let's call it, which is identified
AQ.
AQ.
as AQ, appears to be a door there.
Yeah, this is showing the door just to the left of it.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. And then there's a window inside that cross to the skylight window that's above that, so I'm not sure how that sign is gonna work, at least the marquee
Oh,
sign.
you're talking about the CrossFit 24?
Yeah, there's a window that's through there right now.
Yes.
Okay, and then the other one, that door is essentially where that sign is.
You're talking about the west or the north entrance?
It's north
Or-
entrance, yeah.
Yeah, we just wanted some flexibility to put, like, we don't really have the actual sign design within that space.
Well, I think you should at least represent what
Yeah.
the elevation looks like, so
Yeah.
that we can know where that sign's gonna be. So, other people, future dates, has to deal with this, we want an accurate representation of what's there
Sure.
for our code enforcement and whoever. That's all.
Is that too close to it?
Because it shows it almost brick, and right now, I think there's
Not correct.
vertical siding
Oh,
that's
it's,
there.
well, it's a garage door, correct?
Yeah, there's a garage door that's there,
Yeah.
off to the other side of it, right. But yeah, that's the new sign doorway you put in, there's a fire hydrant right in front of the new brick pavers you put up.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think that's accurately correct, graphically correct.
You know what we could do to simplify it is just not, we're proposing the new, actually, that's a mural, right? So we could just move that over to where the mural is. We have the CrossFit and the marquee, or the marquee and the CrossFit. What's the square footage on that? Which one is that? 285.
Would you come up with the concern? It was adding. Would come up, but with the location. It's just the changes of the location within the building, is it moving over or?
Yeah, and what we.
You want to move it over? We can exchange AQ, which is here, right? We can exchange AQ for AS, which is the woman bodybuilder.
Yeah,
So then we would put the monument sign,
multi-tenant sign, it's called.
yeah, it's a painting on the wall.
Be careful on what we choose.
So the multi-tenant sign next to the CrossFit. So it would be,
From left to right would be multi-tenant.
Essentially below that window.
yes.
Correct.
Okay, on the north elevation, it says that they're changing that to a sign, right? The CrossFit and the
That's correct.
BG. Okay, so when I went through the summary that was wrong, so you've got the additional sign for AP, which is 385, and then you've got two new signs, which are 255 and 360.
340.
There's 900 square feet of signage.
340, okay, gotcha.
Because everything except AS was a mural. So now the leftover is AS mural. And we're adding 980 square feet of signage.
So in terms of additional signage requested, what was the square footage that you've come up with?
I've got 2652.
What'd you come up with?
Additional signage, yeah?
Yeah.
2652.
I came up with 92.
It matches with what I just did.
Okay.
So we got that part right. Okay. So the request is for an additional signage, square footage signage of 1,316 feet on the east elevation, 140 square feet on the south elevation, 216 feet on the west elevation, and 976 feet on the north elevation.
Correct.
Those are the additional requested. How many tenants are in the building? Or how many tenants are there?
Roughly 27 right now.
How many tenants is that building set up for?
Roughly, I think 31 total.
What do you mean cut up for?
Tenants, individual,
It's not a mall, so we don't have existing, we have large open spaces that if someone comes and wants
It could vary.
1,500 square feet, we build them 1,500 square feet. But current tenants are,
And the micro units, depending if they rent one or two, if they
Right.
rent one office or five, there can be 35 businesses or 25 businesses.
but there's just, what's the total?
It's 27.
27?
okay, last time you said there was 19 tenants, 24 individual doors that the public can access. And that the amount of doors hasn't changed, you haven't done any structural changes to the building?
Well, we're proposing to add at least one more door.
Proposing for what?
One more door.
One more door? So we go from 24 to 25 doors? But at this point, you have 24 doors.
Correct.
Yes.
I believe, I can pull it out if we need to, but it's a sign ordinance, it was done by individual tenants which had doors. Is that how the sign ordinance is set up? The multi-tenant building was done by doors.
What's this thing? It's fine.
Section 9 of our zoning ordinance. Office or industrial development entranceway signs is one per entrance. All signs, see section 98J.
Permanent wall sign shall be there for each parcel. In case of multi-tenant buildings, one wall sign shall be there for each having an individual means of access, public access. Where there are several tenants in use of common areas, only one wall sign shall be permitted. The total of the wall signs should be allocated on the basis of, equal basis to all tenants. Total area of wall sign, that's where we got the 150.
150 was based on 150 for,
Total area of wall signs, the maximum area set forth in the table was 150. So that's what we came up with last time, with that number of 30.
right, we took the number of tenants at that point.
Yes.
But ordinance is also tied to the entranceways. So at that point, if the number of tenants equals the entranceways, we would use the larger number, is that correct?
Well, we gave 3,800 square feet, 24 doors is 158 square feet per door.
Oh, three different ways.
Yeah, the
So if
one
it-
about frontage.
Yeah, so it wasn't totally detailed in the minutes, we looked at it in all three ways. So if we did one per tenant, that came out to 19 tenants. If it was by the square foot of the building face, then that's a different number, right? That calculates to a different number.
Yes.
And that was the secondary calculation that we did.
I believe that's the way we did it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that one was area in square feet for frontage of the building. Okay, so total,
But it says it was multi-tenant building,
okay, so we did 150
150
times the amount of tenants.
Correct.
Now, does everyone feel that if we were looking at calculating this, that the 150 would apply towards to the number of doors at the time the tenants exceeded the number of doors?
Let's, hold on a second. Is each of those monument signs, are they for the people that are, the tenants that are in that?
In the interior, yes.
So different tenant signs or monument signs at each of the, they'll be completely different, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm not following you.
The signs that have the tenants listed on them.
The multi-tenant.
Yeah, multi-tenant signs.
Yeah.
Those, each sign will be different, each one will be different, each of the monument signs will be different. There'll be, this entrance will have the tenants that you get to it through this door. This one on this side will be the ones you get to.
So that multi-tenant sign.
Okay, right, as opposed to, my mind was on all signs. I had looked over.
Oh, okay, I thought that's what you were working on, was the multi-tenant signs.
Were you saying monuments, right?
Well, monument sign is a multi-tenant, what you guys are calling a multi-tenant sign, sign people call it a monument sign.
That's monuments,
Okay, so
separate, not the wall sign?
It's a wall sign, but it's
Multi-tenant sign.
The sign
Here,
right
let's look at the picture.
there. That sign right there.
Right, okay,
That's
that one.
multi-tenant sign.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sorry, that's,
It's not a monument
it's calling a
sign.
monument sign.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to put that word out there.
I'm really lost, I'm sorry.
That's what some
There's
people call
another
it.
multi-tenant, yes.
Yes, I got
Those are
it.
the multi-tenant.
So you're considering those different?
Each one that each one he's showing
Right.
is going to have different tenants listed on it.
Right.
So we're not looking, depending on which side of the building it's on, so we're not looking to include all of the tenants in each of those signs.
Oh, yeah, okay, once identified in the wording itself, okay. Does anyone feel like those should be counted in separate square feet or included in the net of the square feet of signage allowed?
It should be included in that square footage lot.
Does anyone disagree with
Yeah, I
that?
think.
No, I agree with that.
I think the basis that we came up with last time should be the basis we use now.
Exactly, I'm just going
I
through to
mean,
make sure
the
what.
150 was a number I think we all felt very comfortable with.
Yes. And we did the 150 times the tenants to get the square
Right.
foot.
Correct.
So at that point, would our reasoning change to increase the number of tenants on that?
I don't know, I think it would. I think it would be a direct proportional relation.
And for me, it was the tenants versus doors. And so we didn't do doors at that time because we had
No.
19 tenants. So,
I don't think it changes to me. To me, it doesn't change. The number of tenants would change that.
right, but at the point where the tenants exceed doors, would it increase more? To me, that's where it limits.
Plus, I think right now he has a situation, doesn't he?
But you have to change the number of doors,
Well, he says there's 24 doors, right? What's changed is he has more tenants.
You know, they,
Maybe I'm not explaining myself, but we did before, I think, the 19 tenants, because that's what he had, but we had to identify that there were 24 doors. It doesn't, the square footage calculation came in per door, because it was one per business, so to speak, and the business was identified as having a separate door.
Well, what we have in the minutes, we have determined that there are 21 signs, 19 tenants, 24 public access doors.
Correct. So the difference now is that there's, I'm not counting the number of signs yet, but now there's 27 tenants, but still 24 doors.
Right, and we said the current ordinance would, we have determined to allow 19 tenants to have 150 square foot of sign per tenant for 2,850 square feet.
Right.
So if we go up X number of tenants,
Right, I'm saying we go up by the number of tenants, but I also thought it was limited by the number of doors. A tenant is defined by having its unique door. So if they put all kinds of kiosks in there, that doesn't make them individual tenants, it's still based on the number of doors. I guess what I'm saying is that the limitation would be the number of doors. If the tenant number got higher than the number of doors, we would go by the number of doors.
correct.
Does everyone follow what I'm saying?
I do, I believe you're saying.
That's just my reasoning based on how we did that. You guys may all have another one.
And I do remember something about if the Legacy Ignite or Urban Air changed, that it would go back to the 150, and it doesn't look like that's falling under that one either.
Right. So I'm getting, you're of the consensus, it's a number of doors limit.
Correct.
To help that at 150.
I'm going to agree with that.
Oh,
I agree with that.
all right. So, without a variance, if we were to recalculate, we would take the number of tenant, or the number of doors, which would be 24 times 150. Is that correct?
Well, we'll have another door, but we'll take every 150
We're just trying to
square
read
feet
our
we can
ordinance
get.
based on what
Yeah.
it says, so that's where we're trying to just, let me see what calculation we come up with there. So if there's
600.
3,600.
yeah, times 50, that would be 3,600 square feet. Allowed. And we,
Previously allowed 28, 50.
right, I guess what I'm saying is if we
It's the-
calculate what the actual variance request would be, it would be the current total square foot in sign minus the 3,600?
Correct.
Okay. So the previous square foot and sign that we approved was,
18.
yeah, what was that up in the answer?
3,800
3,800,
square feet.
which was a 950
It's a
square foot variance.
950 square foot variance.
Yeah. Okay, so 3,800 was approved, and now we know that he's requesting an additional 2,652 is requested.
Which one? 26?
Right.
Which one? 26 one?
2652, 2652. Okay, so I've got,
If you go by the doors, that takes you from 150 to 268 square feet per door.
what were you saying, 30 with the doors?
3,800 plus the 2,650, divide that by 24 doors, you've changed your variance from 150 square feet per door to 268.8 square feet per door.
No, the 150 doesn't change, right? That was the number that.
No,
okay.
it's just making a comparison, it's a ratio number.
Okay.
Just showing you. So the change, the additional square footage of signage is that 26. 26. Right.
I have, if we take what we would calculate based on the approval now, which would be 3,800 square feet, based on the number of doors times 150, that came out to 3,800. So assuming he was coming now,
It came to 36.
oh, I'm sorry, maybe 36?
The 38 was approved previously.
Yes.
Right, we previously approved 3,800, sorry. We previously approved 3,800, and he's requesting an additional 2,652. That adds up to 6,452, minus the 3,600 is where I came up with that. So 6,452 minus the 3,600. He comes up for current variance request of 2852.
But you taking 36, not 38, his variance was 38. Not 36, so that's plus 2. Right, we're looking for a new variance, what that number is.
Right.
The 24 times 150 is 3,600.
I'm
We
looking
gave him a
at,
variance of
I'm
38.
washing off the previous, I'm just saying, how much sign did he have before? What signage does he have? He has 30, take off the word variance. Right now, he has currently 3,800 square feet of sign. Now he wants an additional 2,650 square feet of sign. So he's requesting a total of 6,452 square feet in sign, based on what we would calculate now off of the number of doors of 3,600. I'm starting to go no variance. Let's just start from where 0 would be.
Well, the current signage
That is
is
2852.
40, it's 2652 plus the 2278.
Yeah,
So it's 4930 is the total signs. And the 4930 minus the 3800
But I'm not,
or the 3600.
we don't give a variance off, generally in my mind, you don't give a variance off a variance number. You go right back to 0. What was the original ordinance that you have to comply with? What are you asking for now? It's adding to adding. I want to know,
Well,
Based on-
except that he's already been granted the
wait, he's already been granted
variance.
a variance, but I want to know based on, if everybody else has to follow the ordinance and come in, he's asking for additional signage. He's getting a variance off of our ordinance. What he would like is 2,800 and, 2,800 square feet, give or take. Okay. That's and then if you reference it back to what his additional variance is, he was additionally a 950 square foot variance. So now, from 950, he's actually going to 2852. The difference, you could do the difference, but I'm saying, he was at 950, now he's at 2852.
you're just establishing the baseline for 150.
Bingo. And we recalculated and added additional that he would be allowed based on the number of doors. So, I recalculated today as though he wasn't asking, there was no variance before.
Yeah, because it is a new variance.
So it's 1330, right? Is that the number you had?
Yeah, so what I was just trying to do is,
The 4930 minus the 3600, which is 150 square feet times 24 doors. So I'm asking for 4930 total new signs, so that's a 1330 square foot variance.
the variance you're requesting off our original variance, or our original ordinance is 2852.
Okay.
You generally don't get a variance, your variance is already calculated, that's what you were giving extra. When we recalculate the variance, it's off your original number. So your total variance from what the ordinance requires is that.
Well, I thought it was 150 square feet per door. There's something
Right, you're
different.
getting 100, the way it's calculated, it's 150 square feet per door, but we added more doors. So-
Those are the doors that are there.
Before or no, we didn't, the doors are the same, 24.
Yeah. There's actually an additional door, it should be.
Where before you only had 19 tenants, so we did it times 19. The calculation was the 150 times the number of tenants or doors.
But-
In this case, you have more tenants.
So
but
do you want
tenants
to
are
go
limited by
off
doors.
the variance, or you want to go after the change?
Pardon?
It's 150 times 24 doors, correct? That's the township, that would be your
That's what
baseline.
we're applying.
We added your baseline, so before your base was smaller, your base now is larger.
Currently, the baseline is 3,600, and I'm asking for 4,930, so I'm asking for a variance of 1,330 feet if,
No, you keep adding from 0. The original ordinance, that's where we figured it out. You had 3,800 square feet of sign now, currently on your building.
okay,
Right. So if your building has 24 doors, 24 times 150
3,600.
is 3,600. You'd be allowed 3,600 square feet. So that's a 200 square foot variance.
Right, and I'm asking
Base
for
standards.
4,930.
Right. What you're asking for is 64, your total square feet of sign, what you want is 6,452.
No,
It's the 3,800 already approved, plus the additional 2652. I went through and I calculated the additional signage. On your east elevation, you want 1,316 feet of additional signage that was not there before. On your south elevation, you want 140 square feet that wasn't there before. That's why I want to make sure this is exactly what it is. The west elevation, 216 square feet of additional signage. And the north elevation, you're asking for 976 feet of additional signage.
Okay.
And I'm just doing this as an engineering approach. So your variance would be what you'd be allowed, which we recalculated it today, and increased your number of what you'd be allowed today. You'd be allowed 3,600 square feet today. Your net total signage that you're requesting is 6,452. Now, you know, every member of the board here can look at it differently, how they're doing it, and also, we also need to look at each individual wall, because I know there's a lot of concerns with the west wall, which is highly visible to many of the areas in Waterstone. So that's another consideration. But the board first just has to kind of consider the request for the additional signage and what, keep in mind, we're already adding additional signage because we're adding.
Hold on a second. When I look at the engineering report, assuming that this is right, because there's something missing in the calculations here. So when I look at his report, on the east elevation, old square feet is 1,705.
No, that's mixing murals and signs. We're looking at just signs.
All right, it says signs, 1,705 signs.
We went through sign by sign.
When I total the old, because all I'm doing is adding the old and the new, the old square footage on his is 1,705, and on the south side, 1,113. So that's 2,818. And then
You and I both agreed with that 2652 number. You came up with the exact same number as I
of
did.
new. I'm just talking about the existing.
Right, okay.
So this is the existing, is the 2818, not 38. And the new sign I'm looking for is 2357.
Yeah, I'm looking at our minutes. We approved 3,800 square foot of signage back in September.
Right, but I'm just looking at the analysis that I have from Matt on the existing.
Are you saying you don't currently have 3,800 square feet of signage?
Yeah.
Because the numbers here didn't change. When I'm looking, it's from identical to identical. There's no sign that went down in size on any of your sheets.
Right.
So we approved what you asked for, which was 3,800 square feet. So we're under the basis that you have 3,800 square feet of existing signage.
Okay.
And then on top of that, in addition to what you have now, you're requesting 2,652 square feet of signage.
It's only 40.
Between these two reports, I think we're matching apples to apples. Would it make sense to revisit this when these lists match?
We could. I mean, I think we agree. Let's just go what we agree on. We agree that you have 3,800 square foot of existing signage.
That was approved for the variance. That's what he's allowed to put up.
We had the schematics and it built to the schematics. Because he used the same plan from the previous to the current, and that's how we're calculating. And this
Right.
table also doesn't have additions. So we established that there's 3,800 existing signage. He's requesting an additional 2852.
2652.
But does that number add up? Does that number?
Well, I think you have more.
100. That's the question.
What
Does the what I'm saying, does the number of the signs that was approved in both reports add up to the 3,800?
The one in the engineer's report adds up to 3226. I think the problem with this sheet is that on a couple lines, you put in 40 feet, square feet. For P, Q, R, and S, you didn't multiply them by that number. So you would have a total.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to,
And the same with U, V, W, X, and Y.
so it's 7.4, so it's 280 square feet that wasn't accounted for.
But the engineer's report says 3826 for the planner's report.
How many square feet is that urban air sign now? 500?
Yeah.
Because part of that condition was that if that changed, it went to 150, so now you've got another...
Tendency. I think it was a change in tendency, not a change in signage.
And the urban
Should the signs
Yes.
identified as AB or Legacy Ignite and AK Urban Air be altered or changed from the exact appearance, the new allowed signage should not exceed 150 feet.
Well, it wouldn't change from urban air, just change the letters.
The wording says alter or change from their exact appearance. So if that thing changes at all, according to this, it goes back to 150 square feet.
Right.
Well, we needed approval for it.
Okay, so when I added up from the engineer's signage that he had calculated, it comes out to 3898.
I came out with 3826.
We took two.
That's what I was saying. I
Yeah,
think we have
1705.
so much discrepancy.
Yeah,
that
plus 1113, plus 0, plus 1080. 1705, 1113, and 1080. 3898.
Oh, you know what? I think that mural said was,
Well, it's like it skipped the sign in the front, and then one skipped your mural. So if
Yeah,
you're going by the
yeah.
position, it doesn't, that caught me on that one. So 3898, close to the 3800 that would have been approved, give or take. That's why I keep going back to the zero
wait a
line.
minute. You came up with what?
30,
It's 1705 for signs, 1113 for signs in the south elevation.
yep,
No signs
right. And 10, oh wait.
and no signs. So we're at 2818 for signs.
Yeah, 00. It flips murals and signs.
Yeah.
So we go back to 2818.
So is he saying that this is what is existing or what was approved?
In planner?
Yeah.
I think the plans for the what was approved, since he has the plans that were approved by this body.
Right. And it could be the way they were measuring and things like that. That's why I keep going back to 0. So assuming that the measurements of these are all correct, I just went by what is an additional.
Probably is the basis correct,
Right.
baseline number correct. I mean, if you add up the numbers,
Well,
and it says up here, his number is 4635, so the variance would be certainly less than 2,852 or 2650.
Yeah, we started at 2818.
Right, so are we starting the right, is this number set at the right basis, is number set at the right basis? What's the right
Yeah,
basis?
I mean, if
Take the planner's basis,
if people need time here to determine exactly how many square feet are currently there, that would be postponing this, get that number?
Well, the planner, it comes up with a different number than he does.
Right.
Well, and he even noted in his report that these tables should be corrected as a condition of any motion.
So I've just spent a minute, reviewed all these just to triple check, because it's important, obviously. So I'm just going to go through this chart real quick, because I have the exact number, and I don't think there's, we went through the exact plan. Yeah, but well, let me just go through this. So that when I add up, there was two errors in my, if you look at the approved for signage, so if you start on the very left column, there were two errors in my calculation. One was when we had multiple letters, Q, R, S, and then V, W, X, and Y, so there's 7 additional letters times 40 square feet. You follow me?
280.
So that's an additional 280 to that 2278. And the only other error that I saw was for the where's urban air?
Orange.
That was 8K. Okay. So those were the only errors. Everything else we've, triple checked, because they're either murals or signs. So,
From the sheet that you provided, you had originally said that the approved signage was 2278.
but I would add 280 to that number.
2558.
Yeah.
That comes out to 2558.
What are you missing? We'll do this. Yeah, so we're adding the approved. Yeah, because we're just looking at signs, so. No,
The
it's,
planner calculated, would you say that one was to be, that was 2818. So a couple hundred square feet difference.
Yeah.
all right, so our baseline is 2558.
262.
Yeah, and the planner's baseline is 2818. The planner is 2818. So there's a 260 square feet.
Error somewhere. I mean, so if we used, he's got what, 2818, then we add the 2652. Right, that's what you had for the additional.
Yeah.
Okay.
That number, we all agree on there, which is great.
Okay,
So you were asking.
so it's
For either
5470.
the planner's number or your number, which is 260 square feet up.
Just use the planner's number.
The way we did it before with square feet, it was as long as it was in the building. it was-
470 square feet.
5470.
using the flyers plus what we agreed on with the change.
And then it's 3600 the baseline, Kelly, that you used.
Yeah,
So
That would be
3600 minus 54.
calculated, it would be allowed now.
So that'd be an increase of 1,870 square feet.
Piece of what?
1870.
Or an increase from what would actually be allowed at 3,600. It's an increase over the old variance, but the net increase over what the original variance is allowed.
It's 1670 over the original variance. What's being, the baseline of 3,600 is 1870. 5470 less 3600 is 1870.
And so if you're using his number, it's 2558 plus 2652, right? What does that come out to be?
54
No,
seconds.
using the plan.
Okay, so this is the planner's number,
2818
plus 2652, right?
That's 5470.
Correct.
Okay.
5470 less 3600 is 1870.
At this point, I think we have enough information on, go ahead and sit down, and then we can kind of hash this out. We can call you back up if we have any more
Can I make
questions.
2 quick comments? I know there was concern on the west elevation. You know, the additional changes in the west elevation are minimal. And actually, the way that the current murals read, you know, it's not as organized as what we proposed. So I think it'll actually be more appealing to the eye if we can balance it out. And always respecting our neighbors, they've been good to us. The second thing is, I really appreciate strong consideration for these variances. I'm not asking for this for any other reason than it's critical to have the appropriate exposure, you know, to the highway for these businesses to be successful. You know, I don't paint or change things for any other reason than to make sure this project is a success. So I know this is a unique project, and I appreciate all your consideration for, you know, changing the signage. And thank you for your patience.
Okay, so kind of summarizing again to make sure we're all still understanding. We're going to make the assumption that the planner's number is the most correct at 2,818 square feet of existing signage. The request is for an additional 2,652 square feet of signage. And that would make requested signage of 5,470. The board has determined that the number of doors, of unique doors, would be the prevailing factor in determining the allowed square footage of signs, and that would be multiplied by 150. And that's because the amount of tenants now exceeds the number of doors. Should the amount of tenants decline, that number would then again probably decline, but that was based on 24 doors at 150 square feet per door. So the board determined that 3,600 square feet of wall signage would be allowed. And if that's the case, then the petitioner would be asking for a variance of the allowed square foot of signage of 1,870 square feet. That
Correct.
Okay. Summarized in a way that Deanna, when she's doing the minutes, can pull it right off there. That it boils down everything we talked about. Okay, so now I'm going to open this up to the board to discussions. You want to discuss the west? Start with the west. And what's everyone's feeling on the west? I know that we did a lot of discussion on the west elevation before.
The west and the north were, in the last go-around, was as critical. Yeah, I understand the need to have signage for businesses, I understand. I mean, I'm going to the east side first, you know, because a lot of those murals, I'm somewhat conflicted with, is the fact we had murals, we had signage, it was a nice mixture. You know, we're getting rid of some of those murals. You know, I understand that signage is important for businesses, and the function and properly notify people and get people's attention and get it. This has been a very good project in the township. I know we do have murals that were approved previously on the west side, the west elevation. You know, we're adding one new mural. We did go out there today, and I did drive back down Stony Lake Drive. I did look back up. From the bulk of Stony Lake, I know it's still, leaves are still on the trees, so you don't see them. So 6 to 7 months out of the year, you would not see them. I think
Well, with the drive, it's sometimes different from the back stuff,
Right.
because they're not obstructed.
Right. Exactly. You know, the addition of the sign for the 925 Bar and Grill, I think, is kind of an important sign for the purposes of identifying where that door is and what's happening there. It's a little bit, I'm thinking that is a little bit different than what's on the east side. East side's more of a, I hate to say that, a monument sign. It's not, but it is a monument sign. I'm not all opposed to any of that signage that sits on the west side. I think it's appropriate. I like murals versus signage. I think it's a better mixture.
The west or the east?
I'm sorry, on the west side. If, you know, there were more signs there, I would feel stronger against it, but I think it was just the one that's going in there. And that's just a door identifier for me, for something that's back there. I don't have any strong opinions about that. I do like the fact, the murals, 4 of the 5 were approved previously on the west elevation. The only one that's new is the sign, and then the mural. It's kind of picking on the west.
And then on the west, I know they, some of that proposed area, but that was considered and rejected in that area. I'm looking at that one there,
It's an approved one.
the big,
Yeah, that was previously approved, and we did downsize that. It was larger. I think it was, we downsized it to 2,100 square feet or something, or 1,500 from 2,100. So that was down, and that doesn't exist today. That's a blank sky blue wall.
right. And that's another thing I'm wrapping. A lot of this, where it's blank, actually is approved for science. We're not even seeing those yet.
Yeah, so on the west elevation, you have a new mural and a sign. Is what's being added to what was approved. And then you have 216 square feet of signage, which is the 925 bar and grill.
Okay, looking down.
Yeah. Pretty much, I guess I have the same feeling. I wouldn't be on board with a whole lot more back there, but I did the same today. I drove out there and I drove both ways down Stony. And I've actually been in the backyards there on Stony Lake Drive. I know what they used to have back there. So I don't think that would be too obnoxious, just the addition of those 2 items.
I'm not opposed to, I mean, we've got that area blocked off, that obviously something's gonna go on there, on that west side, that 1,500 square feet. But I remember last time we talked about nothing on the north side, and we're putting what appears to be the 3rd 925 bar and grill sign building. My only concern is, I mean, whatever we do or don't do is somehow make this definitive, because I'll be honest, last September, I thought it was done. Now we're back changing all the stuff we changed in September, which means April, we're gonna be back here changing all the stuff we do today. At what point do we say, that's it, the building has enough signage, enough square footage? I mean, we tied it to doors, we tied it to square footage for doors. That's really my only hesitation is, at what point does that building become one big mural?
I remember it said, you know, if you want it, this is the time to ask, because
Yeah.
this is it. And
That
I
was-
remember saying that this is it. For me, you know, when I saw those original, the way it was laid out, and, you know, compared to what was there, it flowed. I could recognize the businesses that were there, and then you could recognize the murals. Now, I'm having a problem seeing, it's so busy, I don't know if you're actually doing yourself a service, as opposed to a clear distinction of what's in that building, yoga, and then the name, and, you know, boxing and the name. It's getting, in my opinion, so busy and cluttered that you're losing the aesthetics that you had before, and it's making it harder to identify what's there, because there's so much of it, and you don't know where to look. Some of it's here, some of it's there. It's...
I have a question. You say that last November you had said absolutely nothing on the north side, and yet this one mural in the green shows as being already there, no change.
Yeah, that's, even in Wortman's report here, the variance we gave was a maximum of 3,800 square feet, 23 signs, no signage on the west or north elevations, and if the Legacy Ignite or Urban Air were changed in any way, they were to go back to the 100 square feet, 150 square feet, and the murals be permitted only in areas denoted on the plans.
Okay, so that one in the green that says no change, on the north elevation.
It's a mural on the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mural.
Does it exist? Is it currently there?
Yes, changing on the north, it's a mural to the sun.
Yeah, there's a mural.
On the north side, there's a space for it, but we didn't
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so we were trying to really avoid any signage on those two fronts, because
Yeah, I totally understand that, yeah.
more of a residential nature.
Well, I do have a problem with the north side, I think. I hate to say it, but I think the north side needs to be, you need to kind of stick to your guns there. Except that, you know, what do you do about a tenant sign on that side?
Well, the one that's going up there is 925, which...
No, I'm not talking about the 925, I'm talking about the 8Q sign. If you have an entrance there, you need to have something to say what's in that, through that entrance. That would be my only concern for those businesses.
You mind if I...
Okay, so you're saying that you wouldn't want any other signs except for possibly that wall sign?
Yeah, well, it even doesn't need to be that big. I just something, you know, something that identifies
So
what
if
you're,
you're driving around, you know
which entrance you're going to go to. I had to drive around there trying to figure out where things are. And you do want to know if you're going in the right entrance.
Yeah, I would concur with you on that.
But the 925 sign on the north side is rather large. I don't know.
You know, and also from looking at that north side, you don't get a huge benefit from 24, the way the angle's coming down, so it's not, people are gonna come in and see it way ahead of time. they're gonna see what's there as they're right at the corner of the building and they've already passed the view of that. I would agree with have a problem with that, what we'll call a monument sign, or a
Lieutenant sign.
multiple tenant identifier sign in that area. I also agree, I don't know if it really has to be that big. I know when I go around all the professional buildings and stuff, they're generally not that big, you can see them. Even from a car, but I don't know what, the board would be appropriate for that. If we wanted to start, we can start with the north elevation one.
Okay.
So if any, what square foot detail would be appropriate for that?
So the roll of floor. I agree with you. I think there's not much method to that. Driving down Lapeer Road, you could get a glimpse of it. It's why I saw it today. I think it's important to have that multi-tenant sign. For sure.
Could you speak into your mic, please?
However,
You're fading out again.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Please.
I apologize.
Thank you.
So I think it would be appropriate to have a multi-tenant sign there. For sure. And the mural. That would be my opinion.
How about you?
I don't know, I don't see the benefit of it. How many of these multi-tenant signs are we putting up, or looking to put up?
It looks like two.
Two.
So like one on the east face and one on the north face.
It seems where the primary doors are.
If I could make a comment on the north.
Can you step up to the podium, please?
This went in front of planning commission for parking, is that correct? Additional parking on that north side?
Sorry?
It came in front of planning commission, right, for additional parking on the north side?
Correct.
Okay, I'm just going to have them update you with that. So the one change that's come upon here that possibly, helped justify this signage is that it came in front of planning commission on a request to have additional parking on the north side of the building to access from this.
On the, yes, northwest side, that's correct.
And that would be through this entrance here that's closest to where this monument, what we're calling the wall sign.
Yes.
Straw identifiers.
Yeah, I believe in the packet there's a plan that was done
Yeah.
for that, the next item that's on the agenda.
If, on the north side, that, we just put the bar and grill in there as kind of a placeholder because we have an intention of, that's part of the event center there, and we have an intention of putting like a music school or something there. So I'm not sure what the actual sign would be, but we hope that that would be another tenant. And so, Mr. Bailey, to your point, like my hope is to not come back. I don't see a need for any additional signage or changes past this. And so although I don't have that tenant there now, I just put the 925 bar and grill there. But it's my intention to have a separate space. We're looking at putting a music school there. So they'd be able to have signage in front of that space, even though it doesn't necessarily hit. As people are driving around the building, they can see where that business is.
Okay, so I'm hearing the 925 sign, that's not actually what's going to be there?
That's not the actual, we're asking for a sign there, but we're looking at having a tenant in that space. We don't have an approved or listed tenant, sign, but we're talking to a music school.
Okay, so that 925 is actually a concept that's not actually...
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
But it's 385 square foot.
That's correct.
All right. Are there any other signs that are here? Concept signs?
I don't think so. And, you also made a point as far as the clutter, like, we're actually trying to make sure that, the murals and the signage are appropriate for what's in the building. For example, I have a golfer on the side of the building. There's no golf in the building. I have a football player. There's no football in the building. So, we do have a go-kart track coming in, and we do have an arcade, and we do have bowling. So, the murals and the signs will be extremely tasteful, but, more of an accurate representation of what is in the building. So we're not asking for a lot more, well, I know it's changing it from a mural to a sign, but, we're not looking for clutter. I'm kind of a ADD with CD neat freak, so I want to make sure that everything is appropriate. Just to address that.
Thank you. That threw me, because I was actually expecting to see that 925 Bar and Grill. So I know a lot of people, the restaurant has more of a universal draw as opposed to a music school where it's someone looking specifically for that.
So what size is appropriate sign?
It's a little more tailored.
Is it 150, is it 40?
What's
is it
the
60?
space between the top of that door and the top of that building? Or the eaves, right?
10 feet?
Yeah, and we also had, didn't we have the height restrictions on the wall set? Horizontal height. How the walls will not be higher than whichever is lowest. The maximum building height, top of the sills, top of the building. Yeah, here again in 7, what is this, J7, it says, "Yet even for the back of the building, in case of a multi-tenant building, one wall sign shall be permitted for each tenant having an individual means of public access facing the rear of the building." So it's repeated numerous times throughout the ordinance. So basically, there's a request for generic spacing for signs. I myself don't really think that it's necessary in that north side. I think it's just adding some more things there that would be identified by an identifier sign that would be close to the door, which would be it's AG. So I don't know, I have my glasses.
Q.
It's AQ. We need minimum font size.
It's getting later.
Yeah, I think that's AQ.
Which one's that?
I'm on the north elevation, and this one is AQ, right?
The multi-tenant?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 255.
Yeah, I don't,
It doesn't need to be that big, it's just a single.
yeah,
Doesn't need to be 150, doesn't need to be 60.
right, because it's really, it's one
It's an identifier. It's not-
individual tenant.
It's not like something that's on the farm.
Right, it's meant to,
I have a question. If they have glass doors for their entryway, and if they put signage on the glass doors, that falls within the sign ordinance as well, correct?
there's a different addition for doors,
Okay.
doors.
Okay.
And I know it was one sign per tenant or number of doors, so if there's 24 doors, how many total signs are there now?
30 signs.
Now there's 30 signs?
According to Wardman, there was 23 signs with 2,818 square feet. Now there's 4760 with 30 signs.
Okay, I forgot that was another component of it, so we're going from the 23 signs to the 30 signs. And according to our ordinance, it's one sign per tenant, per door. There's a lot to think about here.
ideally, if something goes there where the 925 is, that's gonna be a music school. Again, it doesn't need to be back big. What does that need to be? What's appropriate for that area? If we're gonna deal with it, let's deal with it now and not have to deal with it again. Not have this.
Right, and most multi-tenant buildings, they have their monument sign at the road, which tells what's in there, and then as you're driving around, you're looking for that specific thing. It doesn't normally have another one off to the side, so in my opinion, I believe that tenant identification sign there at the door would be appropriate. I don't think any other signage is necessary on that side of the building.
The door the multi-tenant you're referring to is the one.
Yeah, to the left of the door at the bottom, to the left of what's shown as CrossFit is proposed.
Sign.
Yeah, AQ,
And no other signage.
and no other.
Oh, we do have a mural on there.
Right, existing murals wouldn't change. It's just my opinion, I just don't think it's necessary there. There's gonna be other identification availabilities, guys got ample square feet. You got an identification for those uses. And as they're driving around, they can see that. I would imagine directional signs possibly, which would be freestanding signs.
Just kind of wayfinding.
Yeah. Do we want to break this down piece by piece, or just kind of go through all of it on the next elevation?
For the next elevation.
Okay.
Well, did we come to a consensus on the north elevation? So no to the 925 sign, concept sign, yes to the multi-tenant sign, and no to the CrossFit sign.
I would concur to that.
Did we all come to, oh, and you said absolutely no to the signage?
Well, I was just reading off of what we had said before, that no signs.
Okay.
But no, I do agree with that.
Because that is an entrance that is a multi-tenant.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with mural, I'm fine with multi-tenant.
Okay, so just summarize that on the north elevation. AQ would be permitted, and no other changes would be authorized.
Consider a smaller sign on the north for the 925, because if we put a tenant in there, they need to be identified.
I know this is frustrating, but we have to come across the decision somehow, and so this is how the word's gonna go through. We haven't made a motion yet, so.
Elevation next east.
Yep, looking east.
This is where we're adding 1360, right? 16.
13, 16, and so if we're looking at the elevation, with the chart, we've got where the blue circles would be new signage, and let's see any other, anything else, no change. Oh, and then one other additional new sign, which is the, where it says Bowls Boxing. Is added. Now, mural A is changed to, there's no change. I'm just seeing a bunch of black lines there, so I'm assuming it's shown somewhere else. What is mural A?
American flag.
Pardon?
It's an American flag.
Oh, it doesn't look like a flag from my perspective
If you
here.
look at the next page, turn the page, look at the lower elevation. Right where your fingers at.
Okay. I can be shown with those elevations. Okay. I just didn't see a hatch line here where there should be then.
Upper left?
And this should be a hash line here. Is the flag, which elevation is that flag showing on?
It's that right now,
That's not
Right?
it's both on the east and,
It's on, it's half and half.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Was
the,
that approved before like that?
Yeah.
The wraparound?
the mural, yes.
I don't remember wraparound time.
they're people coming now.
Pardon?
They're people.
yeah, the people on, yeah, that's what it is. Pre-approved, not the people.
Okay.
So that's changing.
I believe an American sign is more like a logo, it's more like a sign, it's more identification, I don't know, but,
It's a mural, nothing's changing there.
it had people before, and now it's changed like substantially.
I'm not a mural. That's my opinion. So, the other change is that,
So you're seeing from 24, that's what you're seeing as you're driving in there, that half and half.
If I can just make a comment, if it's an American flag, there are regulations on how you can display the American flag. So you may want to check to make sure a wraparound where the stars are, the stripes are, that it's appropriately,
Okay,
yeah.
you touched on my knowledge of the rules, that's kind of where I kind of went.
There are regulations, just so you
Don't know
know.
that that would be
Before you
something I
paint
would
it, and then you find
provide.
out that the vets come and talk to you.
Yeah, I can tell you from a personal standpoint, a lot of people would be very offended by that, but, and
I
maybe-
personally would rather see if you put a flagpole up with the real American flag in front of your office
Right.
area versus on the building wall.
Because it's required to be lit, and there's all kinds of regulations. I know there's all kinds of
It's an existing
changes in
mural.
sign rules and things like that too, but that's one that I'm just, from personal opinion, I'm not fond of that. I love the American flag, and I believe it should be displayed in approved manner. Not township approved, but just in what would be generally respected. Okay, so setting that aside, my own personal opinion, we've
the
got,
mural that has the swimmer right now will become a sign. That'll be for a splash. The multi-tenant signs will be next to it. And then beyond that, where the main entryway is, what goes into the den currently, with that 925 sign.
I'm just making a note here, this is, not the actual wording of the sign. This is, no designation.
For 925?
Yeah, 925 no
Is
designation.
that still a concept right there,
Yeah,
that
it's a
925 on that side?
Well, 925 is the name of the business, and it'll be a sign for 925, but we're still working around it, so.
Okay, because before where it said 925, you said it was a music school.
No, what I was saying on the north side, that particular, we're still having,
Could you step up to the mic, please? I can't pick you up unless you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before you were saying where the 925 is on the north side, you said that that was just a concept, but.
For the north side, yes, we put that there. On the north side, there's about 2,400 square feet, something like that. We're talking to a music school and put it next to the event center. So the 925 Bar and Grill is still going in. It's not changing that. I was just specifically addressing that, if we put a tenant there, the ability to put a sign above the tenant's door on the north side.
Okay, I misunderstood what you said.
Yeah, so we're still putting our bar and grill in there. You can have it
Have a
back up there.
925 bar and grill.
Yes.
Thank you.
It still didn't change what we decided there. Going back to the east elevation now.
Okay, and the next one, O, is a mural that will become a sign, I guess. Just a
So what is that mural O that's going, to sign, what is that going to be?
It's a sign. It's gonna go-
It says event center, is that what it's going to say?
Yes,
So that is shown as what it would look like?
yes.
What does it represent?
The event center?
Yeah, it's just digitized on my small print.
We'll be marketing the event center in the building. So when people driving by on the road to see that, we have a bar and grill, we're doing go-karts, bowling, and then there's an event center.
And then the last one is the relocation of the den sign, which is getting increased. There's a sign that was previously approved, 40 square feet. Yes.
Correct.
And it's being increased. 210.
And then, I still want to reiterate, where you're seeing those blank greens, there's nothing there, but there will be. So you have to envision seeing all that in addition to what's being proposed.
Well, and some of those, if you go out there, the ones under Legacy Ignite, there are signs there.
Yes.
They just don't show up on this graphic,
This graphic.
but there are there. And quite a few of them, there are signs there today.
Yeah.
And the den's going to be a very small portion of the facility going forward, right, with after the go-kart people, the bar moves in.
It's still about 10,000 square feet,
10,000.
roughly, pretty significant.
Is the den identified on any of the other elevations?
No,
How many other major areas are you gonna have? Kind of going back to so we don't have to do this again in 3 months, 6 months, whatever. Because, I mean, if you bring in, say, 4 more big businesses, we're kind of running out of space here.
we're almost full. So honestly, I think that the only variable on the tenant side is the tenant on the north side. All the other spaces are full, right? Yeah, or, there's already existing signage, already made available for them. So if something changes from a tenant perspective, it'll really be taking one tenant out, moving another tenant in.
Right.
So we would, change that copy on the front of the building based for that tenant. But I think we're pretty well wrapped up, with the exception of the north side.
So are we looking at per square foot per sign? Are we looking per tenant, kind of need to make this definitive, so as tenants move in and out, we're not right back here, so we can say, hey, tenant X moves out, this 150 square feet, that's what you've got. That's it.
Yes.
Right.
Because, going mural by mural, mural changing to sign changing to mural, we've
Yeah, that's why I
already
kinda
got so many conflicting numbers.
Just took murals
that
out of it, just to look at signs. So
I think we need to tie it to a square footage, either by door, by tenant, current tenant, or X number of square feet per side of the building, a percentage of the building. Because a year from now, if that place gets repainted, we're right back to square one. So I think we need to say, hey, you got 30 tenants, you get 30 signs, 150 square feet.
Because these aren't the only exclusive signs, you still have the monument sign in front.
Exactly.
One off to the other side. I see a lot of the signs over the doors which identify the entrances. I I'm just not comfortable adding more and more signs. I thought what we gave in the beginning was adequate. I don't have an objection to adding the multi-tenant identification sign on each face or near each main door. I think that we gave a lot of square foot to work with in the previous request, and we said if there's going to be more coming, you need to tell us now. I keep going back to that. So I don't mind giving the multi-tenant identifiers, I just myself.
In all fairness, we didn't know what was going to be in the building.
Say, please, we got to work through this. I don't have a problem with the event center. What I see happening is I don't see a lot of advertising for like the go-kart and some of these other things. And I don't want it to come up later where they're asking for it. I want to make sure there's enough there to do it, but they have the confidence. This is what the petitioner is asking for it. I don't have a problem with the event center one and with the multi-tenant identifier. If that's some,
Not following.
the two in blue, where it's changed around to a sign on the east elevation.
Oh, uniform.
Yeah, the upper right corner.
Okay, so the one that's a swimmer,
Yeah,
that'll be a sign for splash.
on the right here, this one.
Yep, and there's the lower, the farthest one to the right is a
Yeah.
multi-time.
Yeah, the
Then the
multi-tenant.
one next to that, to your left, which is in blue,
Right.
which is a mural right now, the request is for a sign.
I don't see any for that one. That's what I'm saying, I have that one here, and the convention center sign, or the event center sign in the middle, the next elevation. That's just my personal, if you feel that the other one's appropriate, that's... And he has additional square foot of building where he has signage approved. He can change the signage within them. You know, and that's what, if he wants to go to planning commission, he can say, I want this sign to say that sign. So if something else needs to be identified strongly, there's large areas on the buildings and multiple areas where that can be done. That's what I'm saying, how much more signage do we need to have? You know, he's got the big sign E that says salon. That could be changed to another sign that says what he wants to say in the splash.
But that's at 10.
That's what I'm saying, I'm feeling that he has room to work within the existing approved areas for those type of things. I'm not seeing that more is needed other than these two here. But whatever the board feels is appropriate.
You know, again, back to my original statement, when we did look at this a year ago, one of the nice things about it was the mixture. It was the mixture of the murals and the signs. It made it unique. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of change that has occurred because of some re-tenancy. Yeah, I do like the multi-tenant sign, I'm okay with that, but I do also like the murals that are there. The one sign that I think is somewhat important would be the 925 one next to the main door, because that'll be the main door for that activity. It really, that'll be the front door for that facility. That'll be a major portion of that building.
And then it's good
It was
exposure
mural.
to the front.
Right, it's adjacent to it. That's the only other thing I'd kind of like to see it stay as it is, over the multi-tenant and with that 925. But I mean, also, I think you're right, there's ample signage along there to do with what needs to be done. That's fine.
Okay. And you're not concerned with the event center?
That would be the one middle elevation, which is a mural, and to me, it looks like a mural. Not a sign, but I don't know what the final graphics are
Well,
going to be.
it's going to be changed to a sign. That's what I'm saying. That's what the end result is going to look like, is what we're seeing right there. Instead of saying event center and look like that.
this in context.
Right.
I'm looking at
Okay.
the context that it is. In my opinion, it doesn't, put a sign there, mural there.
Make a motion.
Doesn't, I'm okay either way. I'm not really taken back by that.
So, as it looks there, conference center would be okay.
In my opinion.
It's not up to you to sign the sign.
The 925 sign, you said that's the main entrance for that.
That's
The bar and grill is actually in the back of the building, it's on the west side. The main entrance for it is on the back side, correct?
Well,
The bar and grill.
Yeah.
According to the plan.
925 encompasses not just the bar and grill. 925,
The sign is for the bar and grill.
well, it's 925 is the name of the go-kart track, the bowling alley, the bar and grill. So it encompasses everything. It's one of the main entrances because when you walk in that door, you have the go-kart track there, and then you walk through,
Okay.
and you have, so
Gotcha.
925
I
is
wasn't aware of
a
that.
separate business, yeah. And, you know, all of these businesses here, each sign is for an individual business. Like, I can't change the salon sign and change it to 925 because it's the salon, that's where you go. And so, you know, each one of these signs that we requested are critical. I know there's a lot of space and it's unique, but for example, Splash Swim School, they're all the way around the back. And it's important if we want that swim school to stay open, that when you have 40,000 cars drive by there a day, that they know there's a swim school in this building. It's critical. I can't put a flag, I can't put a monument sign, I can't do anything else because of all the limitations for this building. So when I'm asking for a mural of a swimmer to be changed to a swim school sign, you know, the essence of the building isn't changing, it's just letting people know that they're there. You know, the monument sign, there's a lot of businesses that on the inside that are not represented on the outside. 925 is the new $2.5 million project, which incorporates bowling, arcade, go-kart. The event center is huge. People driving by the event center need to know that, hey, if you have a wedding or a corporate event or something, so, you know, these other small signs above the doors are for those specific tenants. So I can't put a go-kart above a door for a tenant. And so, you know, these requests, like, I don't know how else I would represent Bulls Boxing. You know, he's got 3,200 square feet in the corner of the building there. He deserves a sign out in front of his business. So when I go and I ask for these changes, you know, Splash is a critical business decision. The monument sign represents the businesses that are in this building. 925 is a new $2.5 million project with go-karts, a bowling alley, event center, you know.
I didn't know it was all.
And we're representing the arcade, go-kart, bowling, and the event center with pictures. The reason why I want a sign for the event center is because it's hard to depict an event center. You know, we've been going through all the graphics trying to give people imagery of it, but I just have to call it out and say 925 events. And the last one is the Den, that's the sports complex. It's always been there. We're just moving it. You know, we have sports teams from all around the state that need to know where the Den is located. So I don't see how I can take any of this other signage on the east and transfer it over. And I think we do a total disservice to the Legacy Center and to the tenants in this Legacy Center. I mean, the swim school put almost $2 million into 2 swimming schools, and they're not represented anywhere unless you drive all the way around the back in the corner. So those are the reasons why I'm asking for those changes. And I can't think of another place to put it. You said we could exchange something, but what can you exchange? You can take out Latitude Yoga and put the swim school there, then Latitude Yoga is not represented.
Okay, let me just interrupt you here because she asked a specific question.
Okay.
I am hearing what you're saying, but I also know that the sign ordinance is written for conformity, and every business operates under the same rules. And so in this case, it's designed by individual tenants and doors, and you're allowed so much space. And within that space, you can put that, and you can put some of the other ones that are inside. The malls deal with that. Everybody deals with that. Anybody coming in would deal with that. So you're allowed so much square feet.
This is such
And
a
you took that square
non-conforming
feet
space.
and you
that's why
made
we're-
very large signs for certain things, which shorted other things for that, and that's how I'm perceiving it. So I understand, but that part, in my opinion, is very self-created. You have very large signs for certain things, which really helps to promote all that, and it didn't leave you a lot of room for the other things. And I understand your frustration with that, but that would be like another petitioner coming in and, I want this one big sign for my restaurant, and then I'll say, well, I need 5 more because I forgot to advertise that I also have a deli and a this and a that.
The reason we asked for the
No,
variance
sir.
is because it's a total non-conforming building. This building was not designed
Yes,
for this
we
space.
do understand that,
Okay, so it
But that
can't be compared to
non-conforming part is
anything
that-
else in the community.
right. But the non-conforming part is where we dealt with how many doors, how many tenants. And so each of those doors had, each of those frontages had enough space to advertise each of those things. And you were being creative, and you did the murals, which we allowed additional. So we allowed that. And you were being creative, and so we allowed additional square footage in signs. So we've been very adaptive because this is special. We've acknowledged that. There's no question about that. We have to evaluate based on fairness and applicability across the board and what the circumstances are. It's almost like, start all over again and let's identify the main users, and you have to decide where they're going to go, and then you have your murals, but that's not what's happening. You want to keep the larger square footage signs that you have and then add the others, and that's where I'm having a problem, and I just don't know how to reconcile it. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but that's where I'm getting stuck, is trying to be fair to everybody. And that's where on some of those where I'm breaking it down, saying that's not important, that's not important. If other things are that important, he needs them done, in my opinion, he's going to have to review that other sign to make room for a couple different uses. That's just my opinion. So what's the board want to do? There's a sign that says Legacy Ignite. There's lots of room to add other components into that. There's a lot of open areas where things could be added. Just the need for more, other than I'm agreeing that the multi-tenant identifier, the board feels that 925 sign is important. I can go along with that. The mural D, I'm looking for more input.
Well, and that's, if you go, using your example about the mall, you've got the big Macy's, you've got big, and the smaller ones inside go on a multi-tenant sign. You don't have a Cinnabon sign sitting out front of Great Lakes Crossing type thing. You've got a sign for a salon that's as big as the sign for the Den, not leaving you room for 925, but yet you've got a huge go-kart. To be honest, I think there's enough signs on the building. If you want to add the multi-tenant, that's one thing, but I mean, to me, the go-kart is advertising the go-kart place. To put another big sign up saying, hey, we got go-karts.
Right.
I don't know, I think it's,
Can I make a, I have a proposal that might be worth considering.
Okay.
So,
the imagery is important. Also, you have to brand, so having a go-kart there so people know there's a go-kart, but, putting a name next to it so people know, where they're going is critical. So just consider that in your decision. But one of the things that I would consider doing is removing, if you approve the changes here, I could remove the Legacy Ignite sign, which would give, what's the total square footage of that? 380 square feet. And so that way it would be less clutter on that side, giving some square footage back.
So if we took out the 380 square feet sign, then that would give you room for your Bolts boxing that we put on there.
And if you approve the other, in exchange for the other signs.
What about making the den sign smaller?
Yeah.
I can make that smaller.
You went from
40 to 200.
40 to 200.
Well, that was the size of the current den sign, but, I just want people to be able to recognize the den and however we need to accomplish that.
The current one is 210?
Can you look it up?
What letter is it?
The current den sign.
T.
That's a proposed den sign, but the current den sign was here where the arcade was, but I can't. You see next to 925 is the arcade, so it was 200. So that's why but if we remove the Legacy Ignite, which I'm willing to do, and then the east side elevation is completed. There's no room for any more businesses or any more changes. And it would appropriately and accurately reflect the businesses that are there.
Okay, so if you remove that Legacy Ignite, which did add up to the 360, so 380. 380.
What about the splash sign?
Well, the den, you said that upper one, what would be an acceptable, workable?
It's currently 200, but, if you want to shrink it down to 150,
Just some calculation. And does that include that smaller multi-tenant designation?
there's a handful of tenants in that walk through that door as well.
So the 150 is both combined?
Yes.
Okay. Both. And then you would propose adding then the Bolts boxing and the multi-tenant, I'm looking at the top elevation, the multi-tenant
The Splash Swim School.
and the spot, and that's going to look just like that? Is there going to be wording within that?
That's
That's incorrectly shown, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's huge. If that's 120, if you look at the bureau, it's supposed to be 230.
The Splash.
This is the one, the old swim?
Yes.
You want to change the splash. It says 120. So I don't think that's correctly depicted inside. It says 120.
I.
What mural is that? It's I?
That would have been on.
260. I have
It says
it.
the old is 260.
Yeah.
It says 120 in the plan. and-
It says the new is 120, and you're right, but no, that's the one we changed to 260.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's the one we changed to 260.
I would like to see that reduced. If that wants to be a sign.
going back to my earlier question with the discrepancy between Wortman and that, are we better off just kind of tabling this and saying, come back with schematics with actual square footage, this is a sign, here's what it's gonna look like. approve this, because, I mean, to sit here and say, hey, we can drop this one 20 square feet, I mean, that motion's gonna be 3.5 pages long.
We're almost there.
What, if we end up, I'll do a clean copy, with the elevations and what we've changed it to, we might be able to work it easier. It's like the one is pretty basic. But then we'd also have to make in our motion that it needs to be checked by the engineer for what we actually originally approved. Planner, sorry. By what we originally approved. Is it the same as what was submitted in this drawing and then what we approved on top? Just to make sure everything is correct along the
Oh,
way.
absolutely, we have to be a part of this.
Yeah, so we could do that. That way if there's some measurement error or something that's shown here that was approved that wasn't. But, yeah, when the planner went through, he's pretty much similar enough that I think I can get a ballpark. And if he was saying take remove the 380, 150 square feet for the den and the multi-tenant identifier there.
I think this is a violation.
How many
The
feet
bulk
from
box
the
end would be 80, right?
Right? Did you move it from the den?
So you're taking it down to 150.
So down to 150 from 2.
So 60 is what we're taking away, right?
I'm doing it based on what we would approve. So we just have, this is what's approved rather than from what.
I
So where that
think it's a
designation
violation.
is, those two together would be 150. The legacy ignite would be removed. The bolts boxing would be added. The multi-tenant sign would be added. And then that splash sign should be reduced then.
What letter is the splash sign?
I,
Aye.
How big is this?
Yeah, there's another one that has a sign.
How much is it? It's 260?
260.
Can we do 185? Because that would look like the yoga sign in the salon.
Yeah, those other two on the top are 185. Actually, I think if the splash sign at 185 was done and the 925 at 185, I think you just need to be a little bit more descriptive with what's in there. You can put smaller words that you have, go-kart.
But it's hard, we've got food, alcohol, go-kart, bowling, event. That's all
Right,
wrapped
but-
into 925, right? I understand.
You've
what
got
you're
the
saying.
illustrations there, which already show people. So you have the illustrations, and the illustrations are going to draw you to the smaller print. People are going to go, is that really bowling? Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Is that really golf cart? Yeah, it is. For me, I would be comfortable with then that sign I and K to be 185.
What is this one?
Now, there is an issue in terms of the dimensioning, because it's showing that multi-tenant sign as 338 square feet. How can it be 338 square feet if the one picture to the left of it is 260? Is it just based on the measurement of the...
It's a replacement of the current mural.
Because it's showing almost an identical footprint from mural D or mural O, which would be changed to a sign of 230.
Yeah, that sign can't be no bigger than the one that's going for the
Right.
next to bowling alley.
I think those all should be in conformity, whichever those are. Yeah, this is 255. The one on the north face says 255. I think they should all be in the same conforming outer
I would agree.
255. Okay, so what, let me just read this along then, just get the board's opinion. So,
Or from the top?
yeah,
Roll
to
box.
allow 80 square foot bolts boxing. Where sign I would be designated would be 185 square feet. Sign J would be required to be a multi-tenant identifier, would be 255 square feet. Sign K would be 185 square feet. Sign O would be 230. Sign T and the box below it with the multi-tenant combined total would be 150 square feet. And the Legacy Ignite signage would be removed in its entirety. That's just a place to start discussion. I'll start on this end for once. Mr. Bailey, start.
Well, kind of going back to my original, I still think we're right back to square one. I don't know. I'm concerned about it, but
I think there's enough room. I would be comfortable taking off the event center because there's still a bunch of room for that 185 where the 925 is shown. It can still say event center, go-kart, bar and grill. It can all be on there. There's enough room for all of that on there.
On where?
On just to the right, on the left center, where it says 925. If he has 185 square feet to work with, that's quite large in terms of when you're thinking about it on this wall. I think there's enough room to identify a grill and some of the sub-uses. I don't know that convention center is necessary. I think that's where it should say convention center, but he's going to put the words on there. Yeah, it's big. It's very big when you're looking at that wall. I mean, 10 by 10 is 100, and you're almost doubling that.
In looking at this, I think it strikes a better balance between what is logos and what is signage and what is murals. I think there's a better proportion to it. Just simply taking what was a mural area, putting a sign there, it clutters it.
Yeah.
I look at the 230 for the event center.
Yeah, I'm
I could go without that. I could go without that.
Excuse me, board? I have a general question. I'm really confused here. I've been watching meetings for years. Is this the function of the ZBA, to spend almost 3 hours redesigning someone's plans? I thought you would discuss what was presented, accept or decline, and move on. If this is your function, tell me.
One of the functions of the ZBA is to determine if a lesser variance is acceptable.
So basically redesigning everything that's been presented.
That's lesser variance when it comes down to square feet. If we're evaluating in our mind what we feel would be appropriate, we can grant a lesser variance. If the petitioner...
You're talking about changing the signs as presented and the sizes and everything. That's not a variance, that's a redesign, isn't it?
Is it what?
That's a redesign. You're not talking about a variance based on what they presented. You've changed everything they presented, now you're trying to make it work. And if that's the way it's supposed to work, that's fine. I'm just confused by it, because that's not the way I've seen it done in the past.
We do have that discretion to look at a lesser variance, and that's what we're doing at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it looks like a complete redesign.
Yeah, it really does.
This is not the first time this board has been faced with these types of decisions.
Okay, I'm just
I think the last
verifying.
time we were here, we spent a significant time doing that as well.
when we thought we were done.
Right. And another component, it's a large building. It's one of the larger ones we have, in Oxford. So this would be the equivalent of, 10 different petitioners coming up for sign ordinances. And we spent, I think, an hour and a half for a gas station sign for a price sticker. So I don't think it's that. That's a good question.
I guess as a follow-up question to Connie's is, I would say the information that was presented this evening shouldn't you have gotten it like 48 hours prior to the meeting so you could have digested it and noticed the differences and maybe postpone the meeting until, you know, you felt more comfortable with the differences between the different reports you're looking at? That's what I was wondering is, isn't there some kind of requirement for the information that's going to be shared with you at this meeting this evening? Shouldn't it be given to you so many hours prior to the meeting so that you can digest material? Because I don't envy you guys. It's very difficult. You're looking at like 3 different reports from your planning commission and what was prior and this new, you know, charting that was presented by Mr. Mills this evening. You know, you're comparing like apples and oranges, and your thought about looking, you know, taking the murals out of the picture and just looking at signage, but that it, you know, wasn't perhaps the way it was looked at the planning commission early on. I just think that, as Mr. Bailey said, you guys have so much information and so many different things to digest this evening. I felt bad that you didn't have this information, unless I'm mistaken and you had it prior to the meeting. It just seems like you just got the copy today. And I guess if I was running the meeting and somebody gave me such detailed last-minute changes information so late in the game, I would have said, you know what? You missed your deadline of giving it to me, so we need to postpone the meeting until we might be better prepared to discuss it. Because your time is important too, and it's going on, you know, 3 hours. And I still feel like, you know, I feel for Deanna. I don't know how she's taking minutes.
10 o'clock is bewitching hour, and we actually can, at that point, postpone based on our own bylaws.
Because I'm thinking, how is Deanna taking minutes? I'm trying to keep track too, and I'm thinking.
We did receive this information more than 48 hours in advance. The problem is there were so many discrepancy between the petitioner's numbers and planner's numbers that.
We spent a significant time reconciling that.
Yeah,
We did receive.
before we even arrived. Yeah, so now.
Not
and then
always
we were-
unusual, because sometimes the petitioner, when they come, they have to have the open discussion to find out why there's a change, because something was measured wrong or they looked at it wrong.
And I guess I would appreciate it maybe more like visuals, like this is what, because you're changing things. To me, it's almost like, I know it's expensive to repaint, but to me, it's like almost a clean slate. Let's redesign it. Let's do some artistic, because
Yeah, well, I don't
now
know if
it
you're
looks like
seeing
it's
what we're
getting
saying. So you guys
hodgepodged
can
around,
do
you know, and it's kind of busy looking, you know. I mean, but I know it's expensive to repaint and to do an architect design or whatever. But anyways, I'm sorry.
Right.
Just my comments. I didn't realize it'd be a time to digest all this information.
May I ask Mr. Mills, if some of the changes that we've been discussing on this east wall, do they sound like something that you would be amenable to?
Yeah, I think we're
We've been getting
almost
concurrence,
there.
so
yeah.
Okay, all right, I want to make sure that we're not.
And we're going to
redesigning
ask
the
again, as
corner.
I summarize the whole thing again, because if we're looking at a lesser variance, if he's in concurrence with that, if that works and that satisfies that element of it. And so that would be the bolt boxing is the yes at 80, the splash at 185, which is sign I, sign J would be 255, sign K would be 185, sign T and the one below it combined would be 150, and the Legacy Ignite would be revoked.
You missed O
What was that?
Oh, is out?
altogether?
Yeah. So there's a slight net increase.
Well, O is currently a mural.
Right.
Just
Right,
O,
but
right?
that's what we're taking a sign, that's where we felt that where you
It
have
would
it.
remain a mural, mural.
Right, it would remain a mural.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I said sign, oh, it's out, not mural. Mural is still fine there.
Okay.
And does that work with your, okay.
We can work with that.
Okay.
So that's a net change of 475.
Yeah, and I'll go over one more time, just to summarize all the elevations at the end. And now we're looking at the south elevation. On the south elevation, she changed the mural to the sign where the urban air is, and
Well, that's a sign.
right to the
That
sign.
is a sign.
We're adding for copyright.
Urban area is a sign.
We just want to be able to,
Change the logo.
to meet the requirements of the
Okay, I'm just going by
franchise.
the key code. It's not a change for Ultra Sign. You're changing, but now it's gonna have that other, let's just deal with that one separately.
And that's the one that we had talked about in the last meeting, that if it changed, it reverted back to the 150 square feet.
Right.
The idea was if we got a new tenant and someone was doing something unique, but
So then the other where it says mural, that's the 140. No. Trying to see what that illustrates. What sign would be there?
Again, that would be for that tenant. That space may divide up into two tenants, so currently it's Bowles Boxing. But we need to represent, you know, that's his entrance there.
All right, so people let me do findings of fact on this. The reason, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was already printed there in that format, and we decided we were going to allow it to stay as long as it didn't need to change. And so, am I correct in?
Well, the context that I recall was a change in tenancy. I don't know exactly reflect that. That was my recollection of that.
Change in tenant?
Change in tenancy would change that sign, not a change to the sign. If the tenant stayed, in my, what I remember our context now today, if the tenant changed, we revert to 150. A change in logo or change, I don't think that was what we intended. Okay, that's my recollection. I know what the minutes say, I read it loud and
Yeah,
clear.
I remember it being because it was already there, we weren't going to make them repaint it smaller. But if they had to repaint it, they were going to have to repaint it smaller. That was my understanding.
That's what I remember.
Okay, again,
I
that was,
wasn't here.
you weren't here.
Yeah. Well, you're just saying when it was I know we talked about it back and forth, but what was my understanding on that one is that because it was already there, we would have liked to have seen it smaller, but we weren't going to
Right,
make
that's
it
why you put
repaint
the
it.
150 on it.
Right. And so,
But
It's-
again,
yeah,
my recollection may be impaired a bit, but my recollection was it was due to, it was a change in tenancy.
Yeah.
Then it would change. That's what would require that change to the sign. Not just changing the logo, but that's, again, my recollection.
yeah, looking up there. You know, when looking at the new logo, and I got the pictures for the record, that I don't think the new one is really identifying really what's in there. I think the trampoline park is an important part of what's in there. The rest is their sign identification. You know, and being that, I don't think it needs to be that big for, I think it's U2 is what did it show? Look back at the picture.
UA.
UA. Yeah. Yeah, so basically it's going to that circle of our big circle UA. I've got the picture here.
Well, then the question comes up, is that now a sign or is that more of a mural?
Well, that's a sign, it's a trademark, we've determined there's a trademark. I don't think it justifies giving space because now it's not really helping to identify what's in that building. Anybody driving by seeing that U2 wouldn't know it's a trampoline park unless it had the words trampoline park.
We just would change the urban air 412 to that UA, and we would keep trampoline park on there, because I agree with you that it has to identify what's in the building. But they have this, you know, however they did their original logo, and the franchise wants to change that, so.
So it's still going to say trampoline park?
Yes.
I just don't know how you're going to put the logo in with the trampoline park. Putting that aside, I see that they want to change that other mural into a sign, but then you still have the Legacy Center, and there's still some room to work with the existing sign, so how does the board feel?
paint it anyways, right?
Yeah. I believe that there's enough room there that that size of that has to give. There's room to work within the Legacy Center signage, that an additional sign there to the right where it's AM isn't necessary.
Well, you could also look at it strictly as a square footage, and what you do in that square footage is, and leave the
That's
square
right.
footage where you can say, hey, you got urban air, you've got Bulls boxing, you have this square footage, go and spend wisely.
Well, we weren't going to allow that large anyways. It was only because it was already painted. I think that's quite large, even if it was,
Yeah, I
half
agree.
that size, he'd still have.
We
plenty of room to work with.
acknowledge that
Yeah.
when we decided to do that.
And personally, with all of the busyness in the front of the building, I'd actually like to see that mural taken out. Everything that's there, you got the mural and then you've got that proposed flag. It's now getting very busy. There's room within that Legacy Center top line to put something else. And there's room within that urban air signage, even if that's reduced. Put quite the information on it. I mean, that's 10 by 50, that's the size of this, at least 3/4 of the size of this wall. That's about a 10-foot ceiling and not even. It's a little bit taller than that, and it's 50 feet, it's gonna go almost to that window.
Because right now, the AM's a mural, right?
Right.
AM's a mural, right?
Yeah. So if you're looking at this size, it's putting it in perspective, but
How about if we change that to 100 square feet? That mural, just to make a sign above that door. If you go, that whole side of the building is large, so you can't go large, and then put a little tiny sign there.
But, something to identify, like if we reduced that mural, how many square feet is that?
140.
140, like made it 100, so I could box it in over the door.
With all the murals and all the changes that are being taken place, how are we going to keep that building from looking blotched? Or, I mean, you're going to have light blue and you're going to have, paint over the splash and put a new logo there. I mean, it's going to look splotchy.
I think the aesthetics of the building, we have a color palette that everyone can use. All the font is standardized, so, I think it'll look actually pretty sharp as we go through and redo some of these things. It'll actually be more standardized than what it is. This is really the last change on the south side because it covers that last tenant entrance. I'd like to protect the Legacy Center because that's the name of the building, and to put something next to it up in that space is a little confusing, but if we could reduce that mural just down to like 100 square feet, so I can give some representation to them on the south side of the building, I think that would do our tenant some justice and maybe meet your requirements.
let's see. I do know that we were really adamant, and I looked at the exact wording, it says, should it be altered or changed from its exact appearance, meaning any change at all, it goes back to 150. So we're kind of starting with the basis that it should be 150, it was redone. And they want to change that mural to a sign, which we don't really know what that sign's going to be yet. This is a concept. Is that person the actual content of what the sign would be?
It would say Bulls Boxing.
Pardon?
That person is an existing mural.
Right.
So we would change that to a sign and write Bowles Boxing.
Right, I asked before, which ones identified on here are concept, and you said there was only one, and that was the diner. So this is a concept as well. The sign that's going to be there doesn't look like this person.
No, that's the existing mural there.
Okay, right, that's what I'm saying.
It would say Bowles Boxing.
So it would look like what's on the front, on the east elevation?
So you'd have, yeah.
They would match, yeah.
And that's 80 square feet.
Right, so it's already identified on one. Okay. Again, on this one, I'm not seeing.
Just assign it to that tenant space.
Smaller, they've got plenty of room within that existing area. I just don't want to add any more of that side. The front is the front, that everyone's seeing it on 24.
Well, we're still looking at quantity of sign.
Right.
What about square footage? This is what you get. So if yoga needs to come down to the, I mean, that's not really up to us, if you will. Just say, hey, here's the square footage. Make it work within the square footage.
Come back with something that works.
Because, I mean, we can design this one and change this one, and we're still adding more and more boxes. I think we need to just say, hey, this is the size of the building, you get X number of square footage, make it work.
And these are under
Because
calculations.
you're going to be repainting some of these, you're going to be changing some of these. We could spend all night deciding this box can be this big, this box can be this big. I think we need to just stick to, here's the square footage. You have 24 tenants, 24 signs. Here's your square footage, make it work. The size is up to you, but here's your square footage.
Okay, so we had a 950 square foot variance before. We recalculated that you would be allowed 3,600 square feet. So if you added the two together, that would be the 3,600 plus the 950. Would that be sufficient to work with it?
No, it was 2850 was the basis. We gave them up to 3,800. That's where you got the 3,800 square feet, the 950 variance.
Yeah, because 150 square foot was allowed with whatever number of tenants.
Right.
Yeah, took it up to 3,800, which gave a variance of
950.
950 feet.
Up to 3,800 square feet of signage.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But what I'm saying right now is we recalculated you would be allowed some additional signage because there's more doors. Tenants now equal the doors.
Yeah,
So it would
right. The determinant is
3,600
3,600.
square feet to start, plus the
So it's
950 we gave them
700.
before. So we're adding that additional recalculation we did. So that would be,
Because we'll keep adding boxes and boxes
Yes,
and boxes
I
and
agree.
boxes. And I think at some point we just need to say, here's your square footage. That within these boundaries, if it's 50 small boxes or 2 big boxes, whatever, here's your sign square footage.
4,550. So he would be allowed 4,550 square foot of signage. Does that work?
Okay.
We continued the previous variance, we gave him a 950 square foot variance before. We recalculated the basis of what he'd be allowed today at 3,600. Adding in the 950 variance we gave him would be 4,550 square feet total.
Yeah, because Wortman came up with 4,760.
4,760 per
Total. Going back to my original, I don't think we have enough information or these conflicting. I would rather see something definitive that says, here's what I have, or here's what we're getting. This is what we're voting on. It's either a number of boxes that they can paint in, or a number of square footage, but
We need a motion to extend the meeting to 9, maybe 9:15.
9:10.
Pardon?
What time?
We need to extend the meeting, motion to extend the meeting, and the meeting would end at 9:15. Or, I'm sorry, 10:15. 10:15.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Mr. Ray, I think there's some merit to what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
I mean, the only thing the square footage, I think we need to give clear direction on square footage and where signage. I mean, because we could take all the signage. I mean,
Yeah.
But
we want to
as,
give him yes and no on which elevations where we want it. We got to give him some direction.
as it stands, we're looking at a number of 4550.
Yes.
Seems like that would be, so
Acceptable.
make your stuff fit in this box at 4550.
But where we want it lined. That's another one.
That's-
Is there some size, obviously on the north side?
We could,
Correct.
So we were on the last one, actually, because we calculated, let's assume that we're almost in agreement or, based on your final. We've done the west side, we've done the north side, we did the east side, so we've done all the heavy lifting. Really, it comes down to this last one, which at this point, on the south side, I don't have much of a fight on it. If we can do the same size, 80 square feet, and we could put that 80 square foot in that sign, and that south side would be completed. And then you have the location, you have the size, and you have the total square footage. So I think, or we meet your objective with the total square footage, and then we also meet the objective of the location of the signs. And really, I can't see asking for anything in addition to this. It meets the requirements for our current and future tenants, and we've pretty much defined the building at this point. So if we could just push through this, I know it's...
I know you want to, I don't disagree with the board here has said, I think they've determined that 4550 is the starting point that's acceptable. I think that it might be a good idea to postpone this to see if you can maybe work on that, and if not, come back with something to show how you tried to accommodate that, or to show the hardship that you can't possibly do what you need to do within that space.
Is it once a month?
Right?
The meeting is once a month?
Yeah, we
You
can.
mean, what's it?
Yeah, we can call it special.
The issues were just against weather and timing.
I know.
So, we're opening up this business and we have to be able to paint and accommodate some of this. So if we,
The board has basically determined you're entitled to a couple hundred square feet more because of the calculations. So that is pretty well accepted. It's not been voted on and made official, but that's the consensus that I think this board came up with, to try and work with that. And maybe bring back something at the next one. But you have what we talked about, and I can sit down and go over this with you at the end of the meeting, and then look at it and come back with this, it won't work, this will work, and maybe have some drawings to be done. Is that the board feels appropriate?
Yeah, I hate to incur the expense of the tenant or the petitioner expense, but I don't see any other way. We are nickel and diming this thing. I mean, we're really nitpicking it.
Well, I mean, we're being detailed. Yeah, we're being,
We are being detailed, but now we've got
Balance all.
all of this in all these different places, and to put this all together this evening, I'm not sure.
I think.
I don't feel confident that we would have the kind of accuracy that we would want.
Right. I think you have a sense of where we would like to see signs, where we don't. We don't have a problem necessarily with the identification of the multiple tenant. If there's room within your other signs that could be reduced to accomplish that. So we're giving you a target goal here at this point of 4550. So we're going to postpone this until you can bring back whatever you feel appropriate. And we can maybe start from there. So that will be postponed, okay. We were gonna also postpone D. And we can further board member comments, unless there's anything urgent. On that, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.